Hi, so today in this video we're going to be talking about solving equations. Now this is going to talk about concepts that were expanded on last video, which was factoring. But if you already feel confident with your factoring, then go ahead and watch this. If not, I recommend my last video. Again, I will say that all example problems will have different values than the ones on your textbook. So while it says something like 8 or 14 on here, it's not going to be the exact values, but it's going to be typically about how you should go about solving them. So with that, let's begin. So in 1.4, I don't know why I put that there, for problem 8, it wants us to solve for our equation. And I think this should be 12z squared. So one of the things that we want to do when we're solving is to move things over. So we want to set the equation equal to 0. And the way to do that is to minus 45 from both sides. So minus 45. So now we've got 12x squared. Z squared. Minus 44z minus 45 equals 0. Now, what I want to do here is I want to do the AC method or the quadratic function. Okay, so in this case, it's nice to us, so we can do the AC method. So 12 times negative 45 is negative 540, and the things that multiply up to negative 540 and add up to 44 are going to be negative 54 and positive 10. So now what we can do is we can do 12z squared minus 54z. It's kind of a gross problem, isn't it? But you'll see a lot of those in this class. In 1050, they would usually give nicer numbers. Luckily, though, we don't have to do quadratic formula in this one. I tend to not like that one as much. So we can take out a 6z from here. So 6z leaves us with 2z minus 9. And then we can take out a positive 5. So we'll do 5, and then which leaves us with 2z minus 9, which is what we want. I'm going to move this down a bit. Whoopsie. And zoom in. Now what we have is 6z plus 5, and then 2z minus 9. And this is still all equal to 0. Now to finally get our answer, because we haven't actually finished, all we've done is factored it. To get our answer, what we want to do is set both of these equal to 0. Because if 0 times something is always equal to 0, right? So if this equals 0, it doesn't matter what's in here, because it will turn into 0, and vice versa. So 6z plus 5 is equal to 0. We'll solve for that. So 6z is equal to negative 5, and then that means z is equal to negative 5, 6. And then 2z minus 9 is equal to 0. 2z equals positive 9. And then z is equal to positive 9 halves. So our answers for this problem are going to be z is equal to negative 5 over 6, or 9 halves. And that would be your answer. You're basically factoring, and then there's one extra step where you're solving for 0. You set the equation equal to 0. Our next equation is this one. 6x minus x, this should be 6x squared, minus x minus 12 is equal to 0. This one's going to be a AC method one again. I'm not sure how long I'll want to spend on this problem, but basically 6 times negative 12 is negative 72. Let's see, 9 and 8 are factors, and we want to be negative, so we'll do this. So 6x squared minus 9x plus 8x minus 12 equals 0. Now we can factor by grouping, taking out a 3x here. So 3x, leaving us with 2x minus 3. And then we also can take out a 4 here. So 4, leaving us with a 2x minus 3 equals 0. And so now we have 3x plus 4 and 2x minus 3, and these are both equal to 0. We want to set them equal to 0, so we'll have 3. Now I'm kind of zooming. I'm doing some mental math. We'll have x is equal to negative 4/3, and x is equal to positive 3/2. And if you plug those into your equation, your answer should give you a 0. Both of them should. Next, we have 3x squared plus 6x minus 5 equals 0. This one is also an AC method one. I think we'll skip it since we've done a lot of those. You basically factor set equal to 0. This one is trying to trick you because of how it set your problem up. What I find helpful for me is just to rearrange it. So I have 10y squared minus 16y plus 5 is equal to 0. And then you can do your AC method from there. I'm not going to since we're just speeding through it. If you are confused on this, just watch my last video on factoring. There's also some good resources in the description of that video. This one is trying to trick us as well, because it looks like it's going to be a difference of squares, but it's actually not, because we have a plus sign here. We cannot have a plus sign. We only need a minus sign. So what we need to do is a quadratic equation. If you remember, there's usually a song that's sung in classes that goes something like x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of x squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Excuse my singing voice. I've been talking for a long time making these videos. Not that I'm much better when I'm not strained, but and so what we need to do is we need to identify what is our A, B, and C. So this is our A, this is our C. We don't have a B in this problem, which makes things harder. Actually, now hold on. There's actually an easier way. We actually don't need to use a quadratic formula, because usually that's good if we have a B, but it's actually easier if we just solve it normally. So we'd have x squared is equal to, I'm going to minus 64 from both sides, and now we can square root. Now we have a problem here, because we cannot have the square root of a negative number. That is not allowed. That's not legal. So what we need to do is plop an I in front of it. So x is equal to 8i. That would be your answer. And it'll be plus or minus, because when you take the square root of something like this, you need to add a plus or minus sign in front of it. This one will need us to use the quadratic formula. So x squared minus 6x plus 10. Say we didn't know that and we just did 10. I don't think that there are any that will multiply up to 10 and add to negative 6. It's pretty easy to tell. So what we'll need to do is, this is A, this is our B, this is our C. So x is equal negative b, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is just positive 36. Minus 4 times a times c, which is minus 40. All over 2 times a, which is 1. So now what we've got is 6 over 2, which is the same as 3, plus or minus 36 minus 40, which is going to give us negative 4 over 2, which is going to give us 3 plus or minus 2i over 2, which is going to give us 3 plus or minus I. That would be your answer. Let's move on. Now, I will say that, again, the numbers that I'm using in my problems may be different than yours. When I look, it doesn't seem as though there are going to be any i's. And also, when I look in the back of the book for the solutions, it says that if you have an I, you can just say no solution. You don't need that I there. For the online homework people, instead of the paper homework people, I'm not quite sure what they want you to plug into WebAssign. I would assume that there's probably a no solution button. Firstly, yours probably won't have an I or a no solution. I just was choosing some of either problems that I swapped numbers in with my head, or problems that were later down on. And so just because yours, the steps will be the same, basically, right? It just will, you probably won't have a negative in there, and you'll be able to simplify it further. And, yeah. Moving on, we have 6x squared plus 12x plus 7 equals 0. And then let's see, if this is AC method, we'll probably skip. So 6 times 7 is 42. 12, let's think. 6 and 7 doesn't work. What else is 42? One moment. It looks to me like this will be a quadratic formula equation as well. So let's just do that real quick. So this is our A term, this is our B term, this is our C term. We have 12 negative, so x is equal to negative b, which is 12, plus or minus the square root of 12 square minus 4 or 6, 7. I'm trying my best. All over 2 times 6, which is not the real rhyme, but we're substituting. So we will have a negative 12 plus or minus 144 minus 42 times 4 is going to be, hold on, 168. Let me double check on that. And let me make sure there's no minuses. Okay. So minus 4 times 6 times 7. Yeah, negative 168. Looks like we have another not real solution. I have a feeling that you won't have this. But basically, I can already tell, since this is going to simplify to a negative number, that it's going to be no real solution. I won't bother finding the rest, since you won't need to. At least on your web assigned homework. I'm not sure what she's looking for on the homework. I would maybe just finish so you have the I, just in case. But your homework will look different than mine, and I have a feeling that you might not run into any I's. But that's just me. I haven't checked. These, I think it's always a great idea to take out the greatest common factor. In this case, it's going to be 2 x squared, which leaves us with x minus 2 equals 0. Now we can set this equal to 0. It's easy. It'll just be 0, because if x equals 0, then this will turn into 0. And so x equals 0. And then we'll also have, x minus 2 equals 0, which will be positive 2 for our 0. And that will be our answer for that. Easy peasy. This next one is very similar. This time we want to set it equal to 0, though. So we'll have x cubed minus 36x equals 0. Then we can take out the x. So x squared minus 36. This looks extremely familiar. This is our perfect square. We know because we have a negative and then perfect squares here. So it will be, first we know that we have an x equals 0. So it'll be x is equal to 0, comma, and then it'll be, we'll plop down our x and then plus 6 and then x minus 6, and there's still that x on the outside. So we'll know we'll have a 6 and a negative 6 for the rest of our zeros. I'm speeding through it. If you don't understand what I'm doing, go check out the last video. I just don't want this video to be 12 years long. So very similar, we're going to take out the greatest common factor, which is 2z squared, which leaves us with 2z cubed minus 5 equals 0. Now this one's a little trickier. Let's see. Is there an easy way to factor this? I don't think there is. No. Now again, I think that I picked a different answer for this, but for me, my guess would be we want, so I'm kind of silly. I know that there are going to be some zeros that are going to be z equals 0, because if z is equal to 0, then the whole thing turns 0. However, we kind of know, here's a little trick for the future. When you have an equation that looks like this, where it's not 2, you can assume that you will have 5 different answers. Now, technically, the 0 counts for 2, at least, I'm pretty sure, like at least 2 zeros. So plus or minus. But that's technically not applicable. To find the others, let me think for a moment. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have no idea where I got this question from. Wait, hold on. Maybe I do. Wait, hold on. Okay, I have my answer. It was, it's kind of a weird, funky question. I did 11 instead of 9. but this will still work. I think that 9 is probably a little bit easier, but the way that you want to do it is, first off, we know that 0 will make this 0 immediately. We can plug in a 0 and it will make it 0 immediately. That's super easy, super nice. What we want to do now is, it's great to take out the greatest common factor. So we'll take out a 2z squared, and that will leave us with a 2z3 cubed minus 5 equals 0. Now what we can do is divide both sides by 2z squared, which leaves us with 2z cubed minus 5 equals 0. We can add 5 to both sides, so we'll get 2z cubed equals positive 5. Divide both sides by 2. That gives us z cubed equals 5/2. What we can do now is cube root both sides. And so our answer is going to be 0 and the cube root of 5 over 2. I don't think yours will be so hard, but you basically just want to know like factoring, and then like easy peasy stuff like zeros. Yeah, that was a weird question for me for a second. My brain like blue screen. I think I'm just tired. No worries though. This next one is 17, which is still different numbers. X to the 4th plus 6x cubed plus 3x squared equals 0. We can take out a greatest common factor here, which is going to be x squared, which leaves us with x squared plus 6x plus 3 equals 0. We know that one of our zeros is going to be 0, so x equals 0. Because we've got this x squared in the front, we can ignore that for a minute. I'll do the AC method. 1 times 3 is 3. Uh-oh, looks like we are going to have to factor using the quadratic formula. So we know that our zeros for this are going to be -6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 413. It still rhymes. All over 2 times 1. And so now what we can do is we can do -6 plus or minus, we'll do -3 actually, -3 because we can divide these, plus or minus 36 minus 12 over 2. This is going to turn into, I can't think today. 1 sec. 24. So -3 plus or minus 24 over 2. This is not included in our squared, but it's okay. So -3 plus or minus. I doubt yours will look like this. I still think that you will probably get nicer answers than the ones that I picked. I usually pick, it seems like I have bad luck. But I don't think yours will be like this. Anyway, we can simplify this by doing 12 and 2, 2 and 6. This is 2 and 3. So we can take out 2, so 2, and that will get rid of the 2 denominator, which leaves us with an inside. Oh, probably I should explain that. So 2 square root of, leaving us with the 6 because we've got 2 pairs of 2, leaving us with 3 and a 2 or a 6. And then this is still divided by 2. We can cross these out, which gives us -3 plus or minus the square root of 6. If, again, I don't think yours will be like that, which is why I'm sort of rushing through it. But basically that's like the gist. You want to, if you can't factor, then you want to do the quadratic formula. We have our zeros, which are going to be 0, -3 plus or minus the square root of 6. And this is technically 3 answers. Well, 4 if you count the 0 because it's plus or minus. But that doesn't really apply. This one is sort of similar to 24, except for it looks a little bit easier, but we'll see what happens. Basically what I want to do is we're going to want to move things over first time. I think that's what we want to do. So we'll have x cubed minus x squared, then minus x squared. So this is actually going to be minus 2x squared, and then minus 1. So plus x minus 1, which is minus 2. Basically, I'm combining like terms, equals 0. Now we can factor by grouping. I can take out an x squared here, which leaves me with x minus 2. And then we still have a, and then 1 x minus 2. Now we can do what we did previously. So x squared plus 1 and x minus 2. Set them equal to 0. X squared plus 1 equals 0. We can minus 1 equals -1. This is going to cause problems because it'll be x is equal to plus or minus I. And then we will also have positive 2. I have a feeling the answer that they want is just 2, though. That's my guess. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will answer as soon as I can. I know this video went on kind of long, and sometimes I picked bad examples, but it is what it is. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. Have a good one.